November 2024 essay titles come out on the 1st of March, and I've had a few colleagues contacting me asking me for some thoughts on how to approach the teaching of the essays. So today, on ToK Today, I'll give you a short overview of 5 stages for teaching the ToK essays. Welcome to ToK Today. I'm Daniel, and I've taken students through the ToK essay in 22 exam sessions. Yes, 22 exam sessions. So today's video is a distillation of learning from those 22 sessions. It's not necessarily the right answer, and certainly it's not the only answer. It's just the answer that works for me. And if you want more details and you want to pick up a free teaching plan or overview for ToK essays, then just follow the link in the video description. Okay, stage 1 is planning, not writing. The first and most important thing that I've learned from those 22 sessions of taking students through the ToK essay is that students should spend a lot more time planning their ToK essay than writing it. The more time they spend unpacking the titles, thinking about the concepts and working on knowledge arguments, the easier and more successful the actual writing process will be. So, front end the thinking process. We want students to do the thinking before they start writing rather than solely whilst they're writing. I recommend that your students should spend about 80% of their time planning the essay and 20% of the available time writing the essay. Stage number 2, delay choosing the titles. Following on from spending time planning the essay rather than writing it is leave time to choose the titles until late in the planning process. Because once students choose the title, then they tend to become rather narrowly focused just on that title. But by leaving the choosing until later in the planning process, it gives them more time to learn about ToK and crucially more time to apply the concepts to each of the prescribed titles. And this helps them to develop the conceptual flexibility which is needed to write a strong essay. As I said earlier, you can pick up my free teaching overview from the link in the video description, and that will tell you when my recommendation is for the timing of students choosing their title. Okay, stage number 3. Problematizing concepts, knowledge issues, and knowledge arguments. In my experience, many students start the essay process with a fairly settled view of ToK. They're fairly settled on its structures and its concepts. And by settled, I mean they take a fairly uncritical approach to the ToK concepts, the definitions, knowledge frames, etc. Obviously, they need an analytical, evaluative, and critical approach to score high marks in the essay. Therefore, I find that by spending time problematizing the concepts and the knowledge framework, it really helps them to develop a more critical approach. And I do this through teaching knowledge issues. For example, reliability, validity, replicability, applicability, falsifiability, and any other words ending in ility. You can maybe check out my earlier video linked above on developing the ToK mindset for more help with this. And next week I intend to publish a video on how to teach knowledge issues if you want really even more help for this. Okay, stage number 4, group work and teamwork. I've usually taught ToK classes of 15 to 30 students, and this is far too many students for the teacher to be able to give the level of individual support required for the ToK essay. Or at least that's been my experience. Therefore, we need to capitalise on the power of the group to provide peer support, advice and guidance. So I try to establish writing groups within my class of students who are writing the prescribed titles. So you have a group for everyone who's writing prescribed title 1, a group for everyone who's writing prescribed title 2, and so on and so on and so on. Now obviously the students need to abide by academic integrity rules, but these groups give them good experience for working in academic groups at university. And if we can promote the writing of the essay as a team process, it reduces the anxiety for individuals who are worried about the essay. Obviously, students have to write the essay individually, but if the wider process is a group endeavour, then we can ensure that we all know that we're going to cross the line together without anyone being left behind. Okay, stage number 5. The draft deadline is the big deadline. My final recommendation for teachers is to emphasise the draft deadline as the big deadline. Try to build the draft deadline as being far more important than the final deadline. And this helps to get most of the heavy lifting out of the way before the final deadline. Some schools will build the draft deadline up by doing things like having a party to mark the importance of the date. What's for sure is that if you can get the essays nearly finished before the draft deadline, then the post-draft refinement of the essay will be focused on moving most of the essays from middle mark bands to higher mark bands. However, if the draft deadline is just seen as a preliminary deadline, then often the post-draft feedback is focused on making most of the essays just essays that pass. So building the draft deadline up is a way of improving the overall scores that the essays attract. So there we have it, 5 tips for teachers who are about to start the November session ToK essays. Or if you're watching this in the future and you're about to do the May essays, then it still works. In the upcoming weeks, I have a lot more content to help both teachers and students to complete the ToK essay. Teachers, if you want to get the overview of the teaching schedule, then click the link in the video description. And teachers and students, if you have any suggestions for further content, then please feel free to contact me at daniel@toktoday.com. Stay toktastic, my friends.